and then she's finally retired. But like anyone, it's quite. I imagine it's a daunting time, retirement. So,
I don't know.
Well, it's okay. But pass on my best.
I will do, pal, definitely.
Put your earplugs in first, though.
Or she can gas.
Yeah. It's what we were saying yesterday, isn't it? It's like 6 degrees of separation. Everybody seems to know everybody else through some means or other.
Biggest village going, Sheffield, isn't it?
Morning, Colin.
Morning, Colin. Do you, Brian, do you know Jennifer Underhay?
Yes.
You work with Chris's mum as well.
Yeah.
Want to show you? I'm going to scare you now. She's going to show her face.
It's all right, I'm cleaning it, Settee. Which department were you in, Brian?
Sorry?
Which department were you in?
I was in contracts and commissioning, but I tended to work with the private providers, not care for you.
Well, I worked with Cheryl for years.
All right.
So I'm sure our paths will have crossed at some point. Nice to see you again.
If I could see your face, I'd know.
No, I don't think you know me.
Yeah, I'm not so good with names. I'm better with faces.
Yeah. I were in home support. Yeah.
Yeah. So was I, but with independence, not care for you.
Right. I'm sure it will have crossed at some point.
Yeah. It's like this is your life, isn't it?
Don't forget, if you want to ask a question, if you'll put your hand up like that, so that we're not all bombarding him with questions. Just thought Jenny were coming in to polish you, John, but
you polished me off a long time ago.
You polished enough.
Oh, definitely.
And good morning, Colin.
Morning to you.
So I'm doing the this because I don't know what's happened to Ian and he's not answering his phone, so he's might have gone.
Could be dog walking.
Yeah. Right. I'll pass you over to John, who you can be the master of ceremonies, John.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, as has been established, my partner Jenny used to work with Chris's mum, and I've sort of known about him for a while. I think first time I saw him, we're on cover at Arctic Monkeys' first LP. Anybody who's got it, that's him in his youth. Well, not that they don't look young nowadays, anyway. So he became a legend then. He was probably already a legend anyway. He's a Wednesdayite, which makes him a good guy, and rare in our group. A blogger about the owls in class, a musician, and a friend of many local musicians and artists. He's like very bohemian, is Chris. Yeah. I think you're currently studying to do some work with people with dementia and Alzheimer's, aren't you, Chris?
Occupational therapy I'm studying.
Occupational therapy. We all need some of that in this group. And I knew he were my sort when the other day I was talking to him and he said he don't trust anybody who don't like Beatles. So if that's true of you...
I found my book looking for all my stuff.
What?
Oh!
Yeah.
Good book.
Yeah, I've got that one, but not with that cover, yeah. And I first became really interested in Chris when a while ago I'd heard he'd done a blog about being a Wednesdayite and to sort of combat the negativism of a lot of Wednesdayites who were twittering and tweeting and blogging and all sorts of stuff. And whether you're a Wednesdayite or a Unitedite, you get people who go about 3 steps out of cave and talk rubbish, which we do frequently, don't we, lads? Yeah, so I thought it'd be a good idea to get Chris on and first of all, apart from all his other accomplishments, tell us why he started the blog, who he did it with, what were the purpose and what sort of reaction he got, and then lead on from there. Is that all right with you, Chris?
That's fine. How long am I speaking for usually?
Well, we'll intersperse it with a bit of banter and a few questions, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
The maximum length of this is 40 minutes, and we're already nearly 10 minutes into it, I think. So there's one session, and then we have a 5-minute break, and then start another session. In total, it's 80 minutes, but I said we've done about 10 so far. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. Over to you. Why did you start the blog, and what happened?
Well, firstly, thank you. I'd like to have all been physically in the room with you, but such is the times we live in. But thank you. So In terms of we called it a podcast. For those who aren't familiar with that, it's basically an online radio show. When I grew, I'm old enough, I suppose, to remember when I grew up. There were no internet when I was following football, and my experience of watching Wednesday or experiencing local football was you went to match on a Saturday, you listened to Radio Sheffield through week. And then religiously, my dad would go to shop, and I'd pester my dad to go to shop after match to go and get McGreenan. And then my Saturday nights, my mum and dad would go to the pub, I'd have babysitter, and I'd just study Greening, especially at back page where tables were and results. Yeah. And that was my Saturday night, Sunday, and then I'd reenact all goals on a Sunday morning. And that was my experience of watching football. And then you go to school, over to work, and you'd have your banter with Blades, and then that'd be it. That was your football. That's where you got your knowledge from, paper, and your workmates or your schoolmates. Now, what I found is we've entered a world of modern technology and Twitter and Facebook and all this is that everybody has an opinion on every part at football club nowadays. Everyone's an expert, me included. And what I found is going online that it were constant negativity about how clubs run, what shirt looks like, how they played, and it almost started taking fun out of watching football for a short while. So I thought, well, I can either go online and argue with everyone about it, or I can try and do something positive about it. So I've been lucky enough in my life so far to have. I think John mentioned that I grew up at a time where Sheffield music scene experienced a lot of success. When I was 14 years old, I met Arctic Monkeys on a bus. They used to play at Boardwalk, which is Black Swan or Mucky Duck. Yeah. You'll all know it. And I met Alex Singer on a bus going from 77 bus used to go from outside Boardwalk to Hillsborough to Grenoside where I grew up, and then they used to get off at High Green. And lo and behold, all that exploded, and through that I had a chance to meet a lot of different people, a lot of people of note really. So I decided to recruit a few friends. So my brother, who's in a band called Reverend and the Makers, he got on board. Pete McKee, you'll have seen, I'm sure a lot of you have seen his artwork around it. I think he made his name through being a cartoonist in paper, but now he sells his work. A very Sheffield-centric work, in it. So I got Pete were on board. And a guy called Mark Herbert, who runs a company called Warp Films. And he's done films such as This Is England. He did a film called Dead Man's Shoes. It's great work if you ever see any of his stuff. And we got together, and we decided that we're going to produce a radio show which were only strictly positive. So it were an hour-long episode where only thing we could be were positive about a football club. Now, when you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan in the last 3 years, that's an extremely difficult task. So,
especially for an hour.
Yeah, for an hour. So we racked his brains together and we put a list of top guests, people who we definitely wanted. So we released one series. So we had Chris Waddle, John Sheridan, Carlton Palmer, who were fantastic. Carlton Palmer, we rang Carlton Palmer and said, Carlton, will you do this interview for us? He says, if you supply me with ale, I'll talk for as long as you want. So we picked him up from Rising Sun in Fulwood and brought him back to Mark's house and plied him with beer. And he spoke to us we ended up in Mark's house for about 4 hours. And really, that's how it went, really. And I can send you links, and I'll get you links to interviews. Please. There's some cracking stories on it. And pretty much that's how we went with it, really. And I mean, for me, it was a chance to meet me heroes. I mean, I'll quickly tell you my first ever memory of football was John Sheridan scoring that goal at Wembley. But at that time, my dad weren't really into football.
Don't get overexcited, Doug. Sorry.
And my granddad's brother played for Everton. He played in the same team as Dixie Dean.
Wow.
And he won league with Everton. So my dad's family were from Cumbria, predominantly Everton fans because of that. And my uncle started Cumbrian Toffees, which they went all over the country watching Everton. And my first ever game were on Gladys End, Everton West Ham. Tony Cotty scored a brace, and I did fall for it a lot. However, there was always this niggling thing in the back of my head about Wednesday. All my pals were Wednesday, and I'll never forget seeing that goal go in at Wembley and thinking how magical it looked. So Premier League started in 1992. I know some people think that football didn't exist before Premier League, but we all know it did. And lo and behold, first fixture in Premier League were Everton versus Sheffield Wednesday at Goodison Park. So my uncle took me on Gladys End, and I had an Everton scarf on. Although in the back of my head, I knew that I were only watching one team, really. And bloke that changed it all for me, really, was Chris Waddle. As soon as I saw Waddle, how he played, how he attacked a full-back, I were in love with it, and I were in love with Wednesday. And I remember going home that night and crying to my dad because I didn't want to let my Uncle Malcolm down. So he made me. We were in Cowan Calf pub at Grenoside, if any of you know it. I were in kids' room, and he made me ring my Uncle Malcolm off pub phone and tell him that I were going to be a Wednesday eye for the rest of my life. So that's really where my love affair started, and ever since then I've collected memorabilia. And thankfully, because last night, I don't think my girlfriend were right chuffed when I got it all out last night, but...
I beg your pardon.
No, that's my memorabilia, that. No.
All right. I've just been told off by Jenny, yeah.
So, my favourite game, I don't know if I've brought a programme, that's Wednesday versus West Ham.
Yeah.
In 1993, and it's known to Wednesday nights as the Waddle game.
Yeah, 5-0.
5-0. I've never seen a bloke rip apart a team as much as he did that day. And it was Waddle really that really like got me obsession going. So to interview him, I tried to act cool and I tried to act normal in front of him, but I just wanted to go across room and sit on his knee really and hug him. So yeah, I brought a few. I found this one which was quite nice. I know it's just. I know Europe's a bit of a touchy subject for Blades at minute. So I thought I'd show you. That's Sheffield Wednesday v Barcelona in 1962.
3-2 to the lads.
That's it. And yeah. I mean, starting lineup there, we've got front three of Finney, Ellis, and Dobson. I mean, you'll know more than me about these players.
Yeah.
I think we lost replay 2-0, didn't we?
2-0 because they took us round the ground and impressed us. The over orders we how good the ground were, and in front of 90,000 Barcelona fans, it was a bit too much for us.
You go, John?
Did I go to Barcelona? No, I've been to Barcelona and seen a match at Barcelona, but I weren't at that match. Well, but I was at the match where we beat them 3-2.
Were you there?
I was there, yeah. Terrific game. Absolutely terrific game.
I don't drink anymore.
AS Roma.
No, I've not got Roma one. Other team we played were Lyon, weren't it?
Lyon, we lost 4-2 away in France and won 5-2 at Hillsborough. And Bobby Craig had a stormer, didn't you, Dave? Can you remember?
Oh,
yeah.
Not as well as you.
I don't drink
anymore. My daughter's got all their programmes now.
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore. I stopped boozing last year because it was doing me no good. It's changed my life, to be honest. And there's only I don't have a lot of booze in house, of course. Our lass has odd bottle, but I've got 2 bottles of beer in my house. One's that one.
Yeah.
To commemorate Sheffield at Wembley. And one's that one.
Yeah. I've got one.
Yeah.
I've still got bottle top. I don't know how it tastes now.
Yeah.
Who brewed it, Sir Chris?
You what, pal?
Who brewed it, the beer?
I don't know if it says. Oh, It says Bass. Bass Brewery did it in Burton.
Just wondered, that's all.
Chris.
Are you going to order a crate, lol?
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, can you just hold the bottles up again, showing the labels, so I can get it on here? People kept talking, so perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
And I know you Blades didn't get the result you wanted that day, but I mean, what a memory that were. In that, I feel lucky to have been a kid at that time. I think I've got a ticket stub here. I collect all sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a sore subject for me, because my dad said, we didn't have a load of money when we were growing up, and my dad said, you can go to semi-final. I were only 7. My dad said, you can go to the semi-final, son, or you can go to the final. Well, I thought, well, what a question to ask a 7-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that we're going to play United. I says, well, when will I ever get to see an FA Cup final again? So I opted for final.
Whoa.
But it's always a sticking point in my head when they talk about semi-final.
Yeah.
Because I knew I weren't in ground. And
Sad. That's sad.
It is sad, but I watched it with my nanan, which is lovely. And I remember it day clearly. And I just feel, for younger people, I don't think they can get into the magnitude of that game and what it did for Sheffield. And when 2 teams walk out at pitch and then balloons go off, it still puts shivers on my neck now.
Yeah.
And I think only nearest we'll ever get to it again for me is if we ever get each other in a playoff final. I can't see it happening for years and years.
Not in our case, no.
Chris,
it's overrated, playoff finals. They're overrated.
You never scored in one, did you?
Chris, I met Chris Waddle once. I helped run a football league, and he came with this team. He still played for him at this time. And he in front of me and the committee. And the first thing I said to him was, Chris, for about an hour and a half, I hated you. But he understood, and that's a good thing about Chris Waddle. He understands.
Yeah, he understands where his fan comes from.
Yeah.
He told us a great story about when he played. He played for Brunsmere, I think, didn't he, in Sunday League?
Yeah.
He says, I says to him, who were hardest fullback he ever played against? He says, believe it or not, he said Kenny Sampson. He says he were a nightmare to play against. He used to be physical and tack right up your arse. And he says one player that I never feared playing against was Paolo Maldini. And he says everyone talked about Maldini as this great fullback. He says I never had a problem with Maldini. He says he used to buy that turn every time. I knew how to play against him. So he says I'm playing for Brunsmere one Sunday. And, and opposition's got this big, stocky centre half, and Waddle's having fullback, this young lad, all over the place. He's ripping him a new one. And centre half saying to fullback, you know what he does? He turns inside, he turns out, and then he'll put ball in, just snap him. And Waddle's giving this young lad a run around. So, end at match, big lad says, all right, Chris. So he goes up to fullback Waddle. He says, don't worry about it, kid. I did say him to Paolo Maldini. he's a top bloke. I'll have a look at some other stuff I've got. What
annoys me is when you see great Wembley goals, is they keep showing that free kick that Paul Gascoigne did in semi-final against Arsenal with it. But the one that Waddle scored against United, you never get to see it. And it was every bit as good as the one that Gascoigne scored.
I still question how old Alan Cork were in that match as well, because he looks about 70 when he played.
Well, the reason behind that was when we started off on the cup run, he'd not had a shave, and he said he wasn't going to have a shave until we got knocked out. Unfortunately, he had a shave that night.
And then he looked like Gabby Hayes. Yeah. Oh, Dave Redford.
Yes.
Dave Redford.
I went to that game, semi-final, and I was sat with all my nephews, and they're all mad Unitedites. They'd all got red balloons, and I'd got about 7 blue balloons. They burst. They let me have one. They burst all my balloons.
But you burst it.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I went with my dad. My dad were United, and he was 74 then. And I went to Wembley with my dad, which were tremendous. And he was a good bloke, my dad. He was balanced and even, unlike me. And he thoroughly enjoyed it for me. He enjoyed the experience, but he enjoyed the win for me. I don't think I'd have been as generous the other way around.
No. I mean, I was sat next to Colin Morris at that game.
Really?
In the cheap seats as well as that. So it was just, you got tickets wherever you could get them. The only thing we won that day was the balloons.
Yeah.
We won the
burst
balloons.
all mine.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful day for City. That we did it proud, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think this is.
When
You'll
you
not have any when Leeds come.
You what, Dave?
You what, pal?
They'll not have any balloons when Leeds come.
That'll be a fierce one next year.
No.
Oh,
There'll be
God.
grenades.
And considering that the FA didn't want it to be at Wembley.
Yeah, that's right.
That game,
Yeah.
Yes,
that
Chris.
game was scheduled for Ellen Road.
Yeah.
Ellen Road.
And I think when we did podcast, Carlton Palmer said the Wednesday team's only worry was if it were moved to, if they chose Ellen Road. He says at Ellen Road, United could have caused Wednesday problems because they'd have been on top of him.
Yeah.
He says as soon as they knew it were on a big pitch at Wembley, because of the quality of player they had, he says we've got these beat at Wembley, but Ellen Road it could have been a different story.
Yeah. Lol.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I went to the semi-final by train, and all the supporters were together, Wednesdayites and Unitedites. No trouble whatsoever.
No.
Good banter, even coming back after the match. Banter. No.
Yeah.
Getting it out. It was
Well,
really a good day out, that. And I was behind the goal that Waddle scored in, banging line with the shot into that top corner in that
Brilliant.
second minute or whatever it was. It was a tremendous free kick. But Alan Kelly, I think Alan Kelly had his best game for United
Oh,
ever. in
It
that
would have been
match.
10 we are, Kelly.
Terrific keeper.
Hmm.
Yes, Chris.
Right.
Back to you.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Chris McClure.
right,
Chris.
Back to you, mate. Oh, so do you want to say something, Chris?
Just quickly, I like most Sheffield United fans, I didn't expect us to get to the semi-final of an FA Cup. I was on holiday. I'd seen every single match up to that game, and I'm on holiday, and it's before the days that you could easily get the result. And I'm pacing up and down. I've got to know what's happened. I ring Reuters. I thought, good idea. Ring Reuters because they know everything. And I'm thousands of miles away. And this woman answered the phone. I said, can you tell me the result of the FA Cup semi-final? And this is what she said. She said, Sheffield's won.
Oh,
That's about right, that, isn't it?
that narrows it down.
And in a way, she was right because Sheffield did win the day.
It was fairly right.
Yeah, it
So
did.
I had to ask her again. She told me the extreme bad news. I put the phone carefully down and I went for a walk on a beach. And then I got over it.
Just
And
out of
somebody
interest,
found a
Chris,
pile of clothes. And it was 3
just out
years
of
before
interest,
they
Chris,
found
where
you.
were you? Chris,
All
where
right,
were you on holiday? Just out of interest.
You what, Lol?
Where was Chris on holiday at? Just out of interest. The West
It's not a
Indies.
travel programme,
I was
this,
in
Lol. It's not a
Barbados.
travel programme. Sorry, Chris.
I was
wanna
in
go away for
Barbados
Wednesday.
watching cricket.
Barbados.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
they
wish
should
I'd
have
been in
been.
London.
I think.
Right. back to Chris McClure. Please.
Yeah, I think
I think-
you've got us overexcited, Chris.
No,
Don't
it's
do it
all
again.
good, isn't it? It's all good.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that our my face were used on front of a famous record,
Yes.
and I mentioned that I grew up with Arctic Monkeys in North Sheffield. I actually went to their first gig at Grapes Pub, upstairs in Grapes Pub.
Trippett Lane.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
internet will have you believe that there were 5,000 people at that gig. But, as you all know, you don't get that many in upstairs in Grapes. I think there were about 30 as when. And when they said to me, "Do you want to be on front at record?" And I thought, "Well, yeah, go on then." What I didn't realise is it'd be fastest selling British record of all time, and I didn't make bargain for that. And when I was looking through my football memorabilia, I found that. So that's
fantastic.
And it's got my mug on back. So that was a funny experience. And to link it back, I worked on their first ever tour when they did the first ever tour at UK. I mean, at that time they probably could have sold out 5,000-6,000 venues capacities, but they were only playing 200, 300 capacity clubs because people had twigged onto it that quickly. Now, when I looked at tour dates on gig listings, I saw that one of them, I think it was end of May in Edinburgh. And once again, lo and behold, Wednesday get to Cardiff against Hartlepool, and I go to all these games. I go to Scunthorpe away, Plymouth away, and when they get to play United at Wembley or in a big playoff final, I can never make it. And I'll always remember us watching it in a pub in Edinburgh. We had to watch it on mute. And we were in this pub in Edinburgh, we were all full of tourists, and there's 5 Sheffield lads at the back of this pub going absolutely crackers when Drew Talbot put that goal in.
Good goal.
So I've not had much luck. Other one I found that was quite nice. I've got official 1966 programme.
Got the same one.
Yeah.
Hold it there, Chris. Chris, just hold it there.
Got it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
As a group, Chris, we're actually doing some work with Glyn Maguire, a media bloke and Wednesdayite, who works at Media City, Salford. And he's working with us and some kids from Wales High School on World Cup memories. Sheffield's involvement with World Cup from 1950 to the current day. You wouldn't think there'd be that many, but there are a lot of memories of Sheffield players and officials being involved with World Cup. So that's ongoing work, just being slowed down by lockdown. Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, it's hard for me to comprehend what it must have been like to have a World Cup in your city. I hope it's something we experience again. I know
unfortunately, it's likely to be at Brom Lane.
Well, yeah, this is a problem now. I think we might have missed boat because Russia got it, didn't they? Yeah. I mean, I bought this off a bloke. There's a bloke on Leppings Lane who's got a little memorabilia shop.
Yeah.
Whoever he bought this off were dedicated because he's filled out all players who were playing formations.
Yeah.
So that's final. That he's filled out final. And all quarterfinals. I don't know if you can see. He's filled out every team, so he knew his stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got
the same
ticket stub for, I think that was quarterfinal. West Germany 4, Uruguay 0.
And they got 2 sent off. They got 2 sent off.
They did.
Did they?
Yeah.
I was there for
some of us were there, Chris.
Brilliant.
Sorry,
I think Beckenbauer scored, did he?
He did, yeah.
West Germany, after that, decided to join the diving event in the Olympics. It was the worst display I'd ever seen up to that time of people throwing themselves around at the slightest touch.
Yeah. It's difficult though, Keith, isn't it? Because when you're playing Uruguay, what are you going to do? Get kicked or dive? I mean,
yeah. You'd think that would be a modern problem though with diving. Do you reckon it was happening back then?
Oh
yes,
more so then I think than now.
Yeah, that surprises me.
Francis Lee. He got about 18 penalties.
Yeah, Francis Lee could dive 20 yards, couldn't he?
Francis Lee.
He got tripped up in the centre circle and end up on the centre spot.
Yeah, penalty spot, yeah.
Penalty spot,
yeah. What else?
Have you got any thoughts on that, Brian?
Well, I think it's all geared around the rewards that are available at the end of the day that prompt people to do it. You know, we've long since lost it as the sport that we're talking about now, the era we're talking about now. It's changed. I mean, it was probably changing then when we look back, but it's gone beyond anything like a sport that the fans want to see, I think. I mean, it's still there, but it's not what it was or what it could be. But unfortunately, that's life, isn't it? That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me as well, I think in England, if you're talking about English football, we've probably done ourselves a disservice for being too honest at times. When you look at Argentinians and Germans, they'd do anything to win. Anything.
Yeah.
And English kind of maybe we've been too proud of it years.
Possibly.
Maybe. Possibly.
Well, it's interesting what Pochettino said when he managed Spurs and there were criticism about players diving, and he said it's part of the culture in South America. It's regarded as a skill. If you win something, like Maradona's handball, if you win something by cheating, it's revered. If you dive and get a penalty, it's a skill. If you handle the ball and get away with it, it's a skill, and they actually practice it. And that's not racism or xenophobia.
No.
He said that's what they do.
And that's absolutely right, because when you see them do it, they are so good at it that they must practice it. They've got to practice. It's not off the hoof. They're so good, they must practice.
Yeah, I mean,
we used to have a forward called John Hickton who we used to practice missing.
I mean, I remember in my youth when I was playing with the old Arrow pub at Gleedless, one of our players, he also played for Middlesbrough Reserves on Saturdays, and nobody I ever played with up till much later could dive like he could or fall like he could, and it was just inbuilt in footballers at a certain level that they knew how to. As soon as he got a touch, they knew how to go over, and whether he practiced it or not, I never asked him, but he was really good at falling over.
Brian,
I mean,
when you were refereeing, were there certain players that you always had to watch out for?
Not for me. I mean, I used to be a bit amazed sometimes at my colleagues who used to say, "Oh, I'm ready for this guy, I'm ready for that guy, I'm ready for other guy," and I didn't used to approach it that way. I just used to approach the game, and if a bad tackle went in, and it weren't Joe Bloggs doing it or whatever. It was a guy with a blue shirt on, and I judged it on what I saw, not on what I thought were going to happen or who it was or it were Bill or whatever. And I never actually subscribed to that argument of, oh, you know, sit down before a game, like who's playing, what you're likely to get. That just weren't my style. I just took it as it came, and if somebody, you know, cut somebody in half, it didn't matter whether it were Kevin Keegan or Kev Smith from Mount Corner. I judged the tackle, not the person. Yeah.
Just for Chris's benefit, Brian used to be a Football League referee.
So, right.
Anyway, we now less than,
all right now.
We're less than a minute, so let's end this session and we'll start on the second session. Okay, so give it
no problem.
Get yourselves a drink and a biscuit. 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.